WLWL Radio, welcoming you to the home front. Hello to our studio audience, all you nice folks sitting at home, and to all our men and women overseas, bravely standing up to the Axis. Give them hell, and let's hope 1944 is the year that we send the Axis packing and we bring our boys and girls back home. I'm your host, Luke Sanchez.
I'm Amber Malkin. And I'm Erica Doobie.
And we are joined tonight and every night by our house band, Kenny C. and the Night Owls. We also have further installments from our three most popular radio shows, The Lone Stranger,
Sam Trowell, Private Guy, and our favorite married couple, Ebb and Flow Pettifogin, Till Death Us Do Part.
We are also featuring musical numbers from your favorite shows from 1944.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Luscious Lard, the lighter lard, for all your baking needs. Guaranteed to fill you up, not fill you out. Your pie crust will never break, never flake with Luscious Lard. Also brought to you by Invigorate Coffee. Every cup will perk you up with Invigorate. Also brought to you by Up the Flu Cold Formula. Remember, folks, when regular cold medicine just won't do, send your cold up the flu.
You know what sound that is, folks? WOWL Radio is proud to present another installment of The Lone Stranger and his indigenous faithful friend, native settler Pronto. A blazing horse with the speed of a fairly fast bicycle, a cloud of dust, and a lusty, "Let's get out of here, magnesium!" The Lone Stranger. With his faithful indigenous native settler Pronto, these heroes of a bygone age are deeply thoughtful and erudite vigilantes who fight against broad and culturally limiting Western stereotypes to wrest justice from the hands of injustice. They are the true heroes in the land west of the Pecos and east of the Rio Grande, south of North Dakota and north of South Dakota. The Lone Stranger and his horse Magnesium and Pronto on his painted pony Pinto are now set to ride off into the sunset of justice and into your hearts as the Lone Stranger cries out,
"Hey, Magnesium, let's get out of here!"
Episode 101, Not So Pronto, Pronto. We last left our heroes solving the mystery of the disappearing cow udders in episode 100, Utter Chaos. Just a drop in the bucket. Tonight, the Lone Stranger and Pronto must face their greatest challenge.
Whoa, Magnesium.
Whoa, Pinto.
Pronto, my incorruptible sense of justice is telling me there is something amiss in yon canyon. Tell me, my faithful indigenous native inhabitant, what do your keen indigenous eyes see in that canyon?
You know I don't have keen and perceptive eyes, Lone Stranger. In fact, I am long overdue to see my optometrist because these glasses just don't seem to help anymore.
Well then, Pronto, I hear the sounds of large bovine creatures in distress.
Large bovine creatures. Do you mean cattle, Lone Stranger? If you mean cattle, stranger, just say cattle. Stop trying to impress me with the fact that you almost graduated from high school.
Sorry, Pronto, I'm just trying to elevate you from your humble and limited origins.
I received my master's degree in comparative literature and philosophy from Oxford University, stranger.
Oxford? Never heard of it. Is that the place where they make those fancy button-down shirts? Well, let's get on down into that canyon and see what all that ruckus is about. Hey, Magnesium, let's get out of here.
Let's go, Pinto.
The Lone Stranger and Pronto soon enter the canyon to see a sight they have never witnessed in the great Southwest.
And now, our main event. For the championship of the Dry Gulch Canyon dual meet, hailing from Charleston, South Carolina, it's Bob Charleston Chew. And in this corner originally from the Lone Star State. It's Bill, the Longhorn Bull. Let's get ready to rumble!
Now, what in the name of John Wayne is going on here? Unhand that bull, mister, or I, the lone stranger, and my faithful indigenous native settler, Pronto, will take matters into our own self-righteous hands.
What's your problem, partner? And what gives you the right to come barging into this ring and break up this match? Especially when I was about to give this here bull my patented combination hip toss and hammerlock, just before I pinned him before he could worm his way out of bounds.
I have thwarted train and bank robberies, stopped desperados from ransacking law-abiding towns, and helped old ladies cross the meanest streets, from Tombstone to Laredo. But I have never seen, since I put on this mask of justice, seen a grown man roll around like you were with a grown bull, especially with both of you wearing those incredibly tight bathing suits.
They are not bathing suits, these are called singlets. And there's nothing wrong in what we are doing. I, the Charleston Shoe, have come out all the way west from South Carolina to make a name for myself as the roughest, toughest, law-breaking, bad man ever in these here parts. And I'm not going to allow you or your red-skin pal to stop me.
Oh, you've done it now.
Excuse me. Did I just hear you call me a redskin? I find that epithet offensive, not only to me, but to all the indigenous people who inhabit North America. My good sir, you would never hear indigenous peoples belittled like this back east. Just ask the wonderful owners of the Washington Indigenous Peoples football team, who have nothing but respect for the first settlers of this land.
Well said, ma'am. I take back my epithet. And may I ask the name of the person to who I speak?
To whom I speak, not to who.
To whom I speak. I always get that wrong. Anyway, what's your name, one who is so wise in the ways of proper English?
I'm called Pronto, and in the tongue of my native people, that means pretty darned fast.
I see you're sporting 2 6-shooters. Did you get the name from the fact that you're so fast on the draw?
I'll have you know that Pronto is the fastest gun west of the Pacific and east of the Atlantic.
What does that make her between the 2 oceans?
The slowest gunman in the United States. I'll give you a demonstration. Whenever you're ready, say draw and I'll shoot one of my guns.
Okay, partner, draw! Anyway, how did you get your name then?
There is no one quicker with a snarky or sarcastic comment than I. Allow me to demonstrate. Hey, you over there!
Yeah?
Nice cowboy boots. You buy them retail? I saw the same pair on sale for I'm sure half of what you paid in Santa Fe. And they came with a Stetson hat for $10 off the wholesale price. And what's with the bandana serving as a neckerchief? You have the temerity to wear a blue paisley bandana with a brown shirt? I bet you even wear white before Memorial Day.
Let's get back to the subject at hand, mister. What in the name of all Western cliches are you doing with these cattle?
I lived a quiet life back in Charleston, South Carolina. I was merely a humble guidance counselor. And yet I dreamed of a rough and tumble life in a place where men are men, woman are woman, cows are cows, horses are horses, children are children, antelopes are antelopes, cantaloupes are cantaloupes, refried beans are
Okay, I get the point. You wanted a more exciting life.
So I moved out here and went to the roughest, toughest bar in Tombstone, La Maison Louis, fine wines and patisserie. A place so rough, tough, and uncouth, they even served a chilled Riesling wine with steak. A white dessert wine with a main course red meat. Oh, gosh. I walked in and asked the roughest, toughest thug in the place what's the most downright, despicable, unlawful, meanest thing a man can do to become the most wanted man in all the Southwest. And he told me cattle wrestling. So I organized teams, and we have been doing this round-robin tournament in this here canyon.
I told you I was slow on the draw, and that was one of the fastest times I've ever been able to get my pistol out of the holster and shoot. Sorry for shooting you, partner. Just trying to prove a point.
Thank heaven for your timely and sarcastic comments. Your sass has gotten us out of many a tight spot in the past, my faithful and indigenous native settler. Anyway, did I hear you say cattle wrestling?
That's right, partner, and nothing's gonna stop me in my reign of terror as I wrestle cattle from the Rio Grande to Pecos. You and your partner just better move on if you know what's good for you, or I'll put you both in an illegal hold regardless of a verbal warning from the referee. I'm that dangerous, desperate, and despicable.
Not to mention you're overly fond of alliteration. That went out of style with Edgar Allan Poe.
I'm sorry to break this to you, Charleston, but I think you got a bum steer. No pun intended. In that patisserie in Tombstone, I think you misheard. It's not illegal to wrestle cattle in these parts. It's a little bit, no, a lot of bit strange. Especially putting a cow in a singlet. It's cattle rustling that's illegal. In fact, it's one of the most illegal things you can do.
What's rustling?
You aren't very quick on the uptake, are you, friend? Rustling is stealing a herd of cattle and moving the whole herd to Chicago, where they're sold for slaughter, and you get all the profits. It's a low-down, underhanded, and generally nasty thing to do. And it's one of the things that the Lone Stranger and I try to stop as we roam the land looking to right wrongs.
Stealing cows? Boy, that sounds so much easier than wrestling them. Do you know how downright smelly it is to be wrestling with the bull? They don't seem to take kindly to my smell either after wearing these wrestling singlets for a few hours. Well, since there are over 500 cattle here in this canyon, I guess I should change professions and start rustling them. Hey, Bob, take the singlet off the cow and have the guys begin rounding up the herd. We're driving them to Chicago. A laugh of crime, here I come. Thanks you two for setting me right.
Our pleasure, Charleston. That's our job. To set people on the correct path and lead them towards the light of justice so that their ship may sail to safe ports and weather any storm.
Stranger, you're mixing up your metaphors again.
Sorry, Pronto. Well, Charleston Chew, glad to help you. And happy trails to you.
Take care, masked man and your sassy sidekick. Let's move these cattle out. It's a long way to Chicago, and perhaps we'll be in town long enough to catch a Blackhawks game. Ooh, sorry, Pronto.
Well, Pronto, another day of frontier justice. Our part of the world is now safer because the Lone Stranger is ever vigilant.
But, boss, you just inspired a man to take up a life of crime.
Nonsense, Pronto. And if that's so, he'll soon be out of our jurisdiction, and it'll be another lawman's problem. Let's jump on our mighty steeds and ride off into the sunset, because it's yet another Western cliche we haven't talked about yet. Though, it does get a bit annoying riding off into the west every evening, since we have the sun in our eyes the whole ride. I wish the writers of Western cliches had the heroes ride off towards the east.
But that would go against the archetype of the hero riding off toward his inevitable death, which is symbolized in the west, where the sun, hence our lives, sets.
Who's this archetype you're talking about, Pronto?
Skip it, stranger. I don't have time to cover Western mythological tropes with you.
One thing we shouldn't skip, Pronto, is our invitation to attend General Custer's shindig this weekend. We have to hurry if we're going to make the General Custer's picnic invite at Little Bighorn.
I think I'll take a rain check on Custer's invite. I hear there are some of my relatives who are planning to crash the party.
Suit yourself. Hey, Magnesium, let's get out of here.
As the sun sets, we bid a fond farewell to the Lone Stranger and Pronto, and their horses, Magnesium and Pinto, defenders of the good, scourges of the evil, and overall nice guys. Though, Pronto does tend to be a bit sarcastic and supercilious.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, a public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. War Department. We present America's favorite housewives, Myrtle, Madge, and Lucy, as they present Grow More in 44.
Come in, the door's open.
Hi, Myrtle. Sorry to bother you, but do you have some lettuce I can take?
Sure, kid, take as much as you need.
I'm sorry to impose, but I have used up my ration card for vegetables this week.
Yoo-hoo! Anyone home?
Door's open, Lucy.
Hiya, Myrtle. Hiya, Madge.
Hi yourself, what's the scoop?
Do you happen to have a tomato or two I can borrow?
Borrow, no, because I don't want it back when you're done with it. Have them, you may.
Sorry to ask, but my ration card's out till tomorrow.
Why don't you two do what I did and start a victory garden?
Easy for you to say, Myrtle, because you have a nice yard. But Luce and I live in all concrete in our double-decker.
And I have no green thumb. Every plant I touch withers and dies in a week.
You don't need a yard. The War Department has a brochure that helps people grow a victory garden on porches and even rooftops. And your double-decker has that flat roof. It'll be perfect for a garden. In no time, with both of you working together, I will end up borrowing from you.
Sounds great, Myrtle, but I'm with Lucy. Both of my thumbs are green.
I'll be happy to get you started. In the brochure sent by the government, up to 40% of all produce during the war has been grown in Victory Gardens.
Why don't we all work together and coordinate what we grow? We could talk to the rest of the neighbors and chart out who grows what so we could share what we grow.
Now you're talking, kid.
Remember, the more we rely on ourselves, the more we can help our soldiers as they fight for us. Here's the brochure on how to start a Victory Garden. Let's meet up after supper and start planning.
Great. See you after dinner, girls.
Thanks for the tomatoes, kid, and thanks for the advice. It's great to know we can do our part.
Thanks, ladies. And remember, it's never too late to start a Victory Garden. The motto this year is, grow more in 44. Let's all do our part. Remember, with each Victory Garden, we are one step closer to bringing our soldiers back home, hearty and healthy. And now, the Ebb and Flow Show, till death us do part, the married bliss of Ebb and Flow Pettifog.
The makers of Invigorate Coffee proudly present another episode in the life of Ebb and Flow, America's most likable, unlikely married couple, with their neighbors, Tony and Maria Paisano. So grab yourself a cup of Invigorate Coffee and sit down and laugh with Ebb and Flow. Remember, folks, every cup of Invigorate will perk you up.
Episode 101, U-Boats on the Merrimack. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and all our ships at sea. If you remember from our last episode, Ebb nearly lost his job at Tripoli Bakery for putting too much yeast in the Italian bread in episode 100, called I Need the Dough. In that same episode, Flo got a raise at her job in the mill for stitching more Army uniforms in 1 month than anyone in her shift. Tony forgot Maria's anniversary yet again, but was saved by the plucky Flo, who sent Maria a dozen roses in Tony's name. How will Flo save the day in this episode? Let's find out, and enjoy your cup of Invigorate as you listen. Remember, every cup will perk you up.
We set the scene with Ebb just returning to the 3rd floor of the triple-decker where he lives with Flo on Prospect Hill, Lawrence. Tony and Maria live on the 2nd floor, and Maria's parents live on the 1st.
Honey, I'm home. You can call a cramped 3rd floor of a triple-decker a home.
Any place where we don't have to live with your parents, your sister and a husband, and your great aunt who smells of castor oil is a palace in my book. How is my conquering hero? The man who kneads the dough, the upper-crust baker, the kingpin of the rolling pin, the man who makes more bread than ends it?
You know, you're very funny. I once thought those jokes was almost amusing 15 years ago when we were newlyweds, and I thought your sense of humor would improve with age. And how is my seamless seamstress, my girl who keeps me in stitches, who is so witty it has kept on needling me every day for 15 years? Listen, honey, enough jokes. I have something serious to tell you, and I don't want to upset you.
Oh my gosh, Eb, what is it? Is your Uncle Ernie out of jail again? And is he looking for a place to stay? I won't tolerate his presence, his cigars, his smelly socks another night in our apartment. Last time he stayed for a night, he stayed for 5 weeks, and when he finally left, so did all our silverware.
No, nothing like that. Ernie's not due for parole for at least another week. Sit down. I have something to tell you, and then Tony and I are going right to the Army recruitment office on Essex Street, and the civil defense leader after he gets off work at the deli.
You and Tony can't try to enlist again. You can't see past your nose. Tony has 2 flat feet, and you're both 40 years old. If the Army ever needs you two, I won't have much faith in the war effort at that point. I'm sorry you're both floor efforts, but if Lawrence ever needs defending, I'm sure you and Tony Pisano can mount a pretty strong defense along Canal Street. You can fling hot cross buns at Hitler, and Tony can toss sliced mortadella at Mussolini.
Great, rub my face in the fact that Tony and I can't join the armed forces. I'd do anything to avoid your cabbage stew Wednesdays. But listen, all kidding aside, as I was walking home from work this evening, I saw something in the Merrimack that I swear was a U-boat periscope. I ran right over to Tony's deli to tell him, and he ran out with me to see. But by that time, the periscope was gone.
You saw a U-boat periscope.
Right.
In the Merrimack River.
Again, right.
You mean a German U-boat somehow got all the way to the mouth of the Merrimack River in Newburyport, right past where the United States Coast Guard got its start, undetected by some of our finest sailors sworn to defend our waters. The U-boat then sailed in shallow waters through Amesbury, Haverhill, and up some dams and waterfalls to park itself in Lawrence. What do you think it's doing? Waiting until nightfall to storm Lawton's hot dog stand on Canal Street to change the sign to say Frankenfurters? Honestly, Eb, you've come up with some scatterbrained things in your day, but this takes the cake. Or should I say, it takes the kuchen.
Kuchen, what's that?
German for cake, Eb.
I don't care what you say, Flo. I trust my eyes, and I saw a periscope. And what's under a periscope? A U-boat. Fifth Baxter wanted us to be ever vigilant and report anything that seemed fishy.
Biff Baxter's a radio show, Eb, and in this case, even Biff Baxter would say you flipped your wig.
Well, Tony believes me, and when he gets here, we're heading off to report this. And won't you be jealous when they pin a medal on both of us for saving the East Coast from invasion?
The only time you'll ever get pinned is if a kid mistakes you for a donkey at a birthday party.
Laugh it up, kid.
I'm here.
Tony, welcome to our house. Don't bother knocking. Why should you knock? Why do anything different? Let's hope when your U-boat captain comes to invade, at least he'll have the courtesy to knock before he takes us as his prisoners. Listen, can I get you two something to eat before you go running off to save the world and embarrass yourselves?
No thanks, Flo. I'll eat after we get back.
Besides, it's Wednesday. Cabbage night.
I'll take cabbage over Maria's overcooked tripe. By the time she finishes cooking it, it could be used for tires on P-40 airplanes.
Maria and I work the same hours as you two jamokes, get paid half of what you do, and we still have to come home, cook, clean, and do the wash. You don't like our food? Then starve.
Sorry, Flo. Listen, I'm sure you got told about what Eb saw on the river today.
Yeah, and I can forgive my husband for being an idiot because he has little to work with based on the family he came from. But I thought you, Tony, had some native intelligence. Except, of course, your choice and best friends.
Yuck it up, Flo. Who knows where I'd be if I had the same support from you as I have from Tony?
Hey, Eb! Don't be conspicuous, but look out the window. Do you see someone on the corner looking around?
Yeah. He looks pretty shady. Quick, duck down and let's shut all the drapes. Flo, lock the door. Tony, your wife and family are out visiting across town tonight, right?
Yeah.
So we're the only ones in the house. I bet it's a spy from the U-boat. They must have seen me through their periscope and sent someone out to take care of me. Tony, Flo, it looks like we're the only line of defense against an all-out attack. Flo, call the police.
You want me to yell for him out on the back porch?
How about using the phone, genius?
That'll only happen when we pay our telephone bill. You know that.
Why didn't we pay the telephone bill?
Because it was either that or the electric bill. Who do we call? I'd rather have lights so I can gaze more adoringly at your handsome mug each night when you come home from work and proceed to fall asleep on the couch listening to the radio.
Enough. Look, we three need a plan, and soon. It looks like he's heading our way. Look at him skulking in the shadows.
Looks like you'll need a plan for two, because I'm gonna lie down while the cabbage is cooking.
How can you lie down at a time like this? Your country needs you.
Listen, here's your two boys' chance to prove that two 4Fs can still serve their country. Who am I to steal your only chance for glory? Wake me up either when the cabbage is done or when you subdue the whole German fleet.
Actually, going in the bedroom is a great idea, Flo, to protect yourself. Shut the door and put a chair under the doorknob. Don't open the door unless you hear this exact knocking.
What is it?
That's not the code. 3 knocks.
That's quite the elaborate code, Eb. I've never heard someone knock on the door in such an unusual, mysterious way in all my life. What a genius. How was I ever so lucky to land an egghead like you?
Enough with the sarcasm. Now, don't open the door until you hear 3 knocks. 3 knocks are nothing. What if I was the German spy?
Then I'd probably have someone interesting to talk to for once.
Again with the sarcasm. Shut the door and don't open it until Tony and me are heroes.
Geez, Eb, I gotta go to work in the morning. How will I ever get out of the apartment?
Just shut the door for the love of Pete.
Eb, while you and Flo were whispering sweet nothings in each other's ears, the guy's gone missing.
I thought you was watching the window, Tony.
I was, but I got distracted by you two bickering.
All right, look, we need a plan and one right now. What would the Lone Strange and Pronto do in this situation?
They wouldn't be in this situation. They lived in the Wild West times long before Hitler.
I know, but it doesn't matter the historical situation. How would the stranger and his faithful indigenous native settler handle it?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think about a situation in one of their episodes that's analgesic.
The word's analogous, and besides, the Lone Stranger and Pronto are fictional, just like your U-boat and German spy.
I thought you was gonna have a lie down.
How can I rest with you two bellowing in there? If there was a spy lurking in the street, he'd certainly know where to find his victims.
I hate to admit it, but she's right.
True. I think the word is analogous.
Not about that.
Oh, yeah. She's also right about the stranger and Pronto being fictional.
Not about that, you putz. I mean about keeping our voices down.
Like that, Sherlock?
Sorry. Let's be smart now, buddy, and form a plan.
Look, the spy probably doesn't know I'm up here. I say when he knocks on the door, you open it quick. I'll be next door with the blanket from the couch. When he walks in, I'll throw the blanket over his head, and you clobber him with the frying pan.
How about I do the throwing and you do the frying pan?
No, you're stronger than me. And besides, it's your frying pan.
It's my blanket as well, but fine. You do the throwing and I'll do the hitting. You'll be like Yank Terry and I'll be like Bobby Dorr.
I don't want to be Yank Terry. He can't pitch to save his life right now. I'll be Pinky Woods. He may have a lousy win-loss, but he's getting no run support when he's on the mound. And how could you be Bobby Dorr? He's a righty and you're a southpaw. You'll need to be Catfish Machovic. He's a lefty like you.
All right. You're Pinky, and I'm Catfish. Now let's get ready. He may have a gun drawn, so be on the lookout for that. Get that blanket over his head quick, so I can clobber him before he has the chance to pull the trigger. Okay, now we wait. Whatever happens from this point on, buddy, I want you to know that you've always been my best friend through thick and thin.
Same to you, pal. And if anything happens to you, you know Maria and me will take care of Flo. She'll never know hunger or want, and she'll never have anything to worry about on making her bills.
Jeez, Tony, can you make sure something happens to Ev? That sounds like a good deal to me.
This is serious, Flo. One or both of us may not get out of this alive, and if we don't, it could mean the end of civilization as we know it.
You heard that exact same line from last night's Biff Baxter episode. Biff Baxter kicks Hitler right in the axis. If you're gonna die, at least say something original.
Flo, do me a favor. If I don't make it, please never marry. It's not because I know you'll be mourning me. I don't want you to make some other poor jamoke miserable by marrying him.
Don't worry, dear. If you don't make it, Tony and his family will be taking care of me. And after all these years of married bliss with you, I don't think I could stand any more joy.
Hey, kid. All kidding aside, you know I love you.
And I love you too, you big ox.
He's coming up the stairs. Quick, turn off the lights. My gosh, I've never been so scared in my life.
Me either, but we have a duty to our country, Tony. We don't get another chance, so make good with that blanket and I'll brain him with the pan. You ready, Tony?
Perhaps we should ask who it is first.
What, and give away the element of surprise? It's now or never. Besides, if I wait any longer, I may lose my nerve.
Okay, then let's get this over with. We did it, Eb. We stopped a German spy. We're heroes.
Flo, come out here and see what we did.
You haven't knocked. How do I know that you're not the German spy who has learned to talk like my big palooka husband, to let me out and take me as a hostage on his U-boat that's parked in the Merrimack River on Canal Street in 10-foot deep water?
Okay.
Haven't you taken the blanket off the poor sap you just brained? Who knows what lawsuit awaits us? It's probably a bill collector.
Yeah, very funny. Okay, Tony. Pull off the blanket and let's get a good look at our prisoner of war.
Funny, but this guy looks a lot like your Uncle Ernie.
You're right. He does look like Uncle Ernie.
That's because it is your Uncle Ernie.
Look, I know I borrowed your silverware last time I was here, and I'm sorry I did it. But I owed money to a couple guys on Tower Hill, and if I didn't pay them that night, they was gonna rearrange my kneecaps, and I'd be sitting like a camel. And I couldn't risk putting you two in danger.
Uncle Ernie, you weren't supposed to get out for at least another week.
Well, for once, I was given a break, because for once, I got off for good behavior. And don't worry, Flo. I'm not here to ask for a place to stay. I just came by to pay back the cost of silverware I took with interest and say goodbye. This part of the country has been bad luck to me, so I'm heading out west to Nevada. Maybe some of my horizontal striped wearing buddies, but Las Vegas someday soon. It's gonna be a place where a guy like me can live the life of Riley.
Las Vegas. Nevada. Uncle Ernie, that's in the desert. Nothing's ever gonna come out of that part of the country.
We'll see, kid. So, here's the money I owe you, with a good bit of interest tacked on for your always taking me in when no one else did. Take care of my nephew, Flo. Eb never really was the most powerful playing card in our family deck, but he's got a good heart, and he was lucky to land an ace like you, Flo.
Thanks, Ernie, and good luck to you.
Before I leave, why was I given such a cold reception by the baker and the butcher?
We thought you was a German spy from a U-boat that submerged in the Merrimack.
See what I said? Not the most powerful card in the deck. Well, goodbye, kids. I'm gonna take this lump on the head and head out. Best of luck to you all, and thanks for never giving up on me. See you in the funny papers.
Well, you two, have you had enough adventure for one evening?
You're right, Flo. I must have been out of my brain to think I saw a periscope from a U-boat in the Merrimack. And to make it up to you and Tony, how's about we skip the cabbage for one night and get some dogs from Lawton's?
Sounds good to me. Come on, my heroes, let's celebrate.
I love you, baby.
Right back at you, kid.
Mueller to U-boat, Capitan. Mueller to U-boat, Capitan. Reporting in. No need to worry about the civilian who we saw on the stairs. There you go. He is a dunderhead, and there is no need to take care of him. I am reporting back to you both now.
Well done, you Schweinhund. You have just reported in on an open frequency that's being monitored by the American Coast Guard. There's no way we are going to be able to get to open sea. Our cause is lost. That dunderhead you were set to take care of is now going to be a hero.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just another typical day in the life of America's most likable, unlikely married couple. Tune in next week for another episode of To Death Us Do Part, the married bliss of ebb and flow pettifog. And now a word from our sponsor, Invigorate Coffee. Every cup will perk you up.
There he is, the love of my life. How's your day at work, honey?
Boy, am I pooped. What a day. My dogs are barking at me, my back aches, my head is pounding, and I feel like something the cat wouldn't even drag in.
Well, I hope you've got some energy left because you know what tonight is.
Happy anniversary?
No, silly. Tonight's a jitterbug contest down at the local USO, and I know this year we're going to finally win and take that trophy away from the Kowalskis. Stella won't be so hot to trot around the shop when she won't be able to brag about being the jitterbug queen of the West Side.
Sorry, honey. I think all my get up and go has got up and went. All I want to do is put my dogs up and listen to the Lone Stranger on the radio. We'll get to the Kowalskis next year. I promise.
But this is the third time in a row we've canceled on something because every night you turn into a bicycle.
A bicycle?
Yes, you become too tired.
Hardy har.
I'm serious, honey. Last night we let down our bowling team. The night before we didn't go roller skating at the rec center. And the night before that we skipped out on volunteering at the scrap metal drive for the war effort.
How'd you get all this energy? You work a full shift at the munitions plant just like me, and every night your engines are revving faster than a P-40. What's your secret?
It's no secret. It's all contained in this one little cup of Invigorate coffee. Just one cup will perk you up.
You know I'm not a coffee drinker.
Well, maybe it's high time you join the millions of us who have made Invigorate coffee their day of prep. Our coffee claims they're good to the last drop, but Invigorate will never let you drop. It'll keep you up and allow you to do what needs to get done. So what do you say, Mr. Fred asks there? How about you and me get out there and show the Kowalskis how a jitterbug? Drink this cup of Invigorate.
Say, this is smooth and rich. I can feel my energy coming back like a bolt of electricity.
What did I tell you? Every cup will perk you up.
Wow, I am sold. Let me finish this cup of delicious coffee while you put on your dancing shoes. Watch out, Kowalskis. Stanley and Stella won't know what hit them as we dance ourselves to glory tonight.
Now you're talking.
Has the daily grind begun to grind you down? Has fatigue begun to turn your smile into a frown?
Are you tired and listless just because of your job? Has your best gal begun to think you're a slob?
Well, my friend, the answer is contained in one cup. Invigorate yourself. It's time you perk yourself up.
That's right, friends. Invigorate Coffee, a perfect blend of rich flavor, smooth aroma, and a powerful punch to keep you going. One cup will perk you up. And to calm yourself down at night, don't forget our brand of fine teas, including Serendipity, Capability, Sobriety, and our patented late-night relaxer, Serenity. Get Serenity now wherever Invigorate Coffee is sold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's fun to have fun with Ebb and Flow each week. But though we could take a moment to laugh at their exploits, even during the war, we must never forget our valiant fighting men and women who have sacrificed so much to keep democracy alive, not only in America, but throughout the world. Tonight, we bring you another installment of War Diaries with an episode called If You Get This Letter, Correspondence from D-Day. Just a few months ago, the Allies launched the greatest offensive of the war, Operation Overlord, which began on June 6th and which ran all the way through July. Though great sacrifice, we now have a foot in France and we are chasing Germany back to its borders. Allied troops from the United Kingdom, America, Canada, Australia, Free Belgium, Free Czechoslovakia, Denmark, Free France, Free Greece, Free Netherlands, New Zealand, Free Norway, and Free Poland fought fiercely with German troops. And when the offensive was over in Normandy, over 425,000 Allied and German troops were killed, wounded, or went missing. Thousands of French civilians were killed. The mind staggers at the thought of nearly 500,000 deaths in such a short amount of time, in such a small area of land, considering the whole world. Tonight, we bring you some of the voices of the Normandy invasion through letters written at the time, and by both Allied and Axis soldiers. While it is quite appropriate to see Hitler and his twisted cohorts that make up the Nazi Party, we must remember that before the war, many German young men and women were living the same lives as our boys and girls back home, studying at high schools and colleges, learning a trade, engaging in sports, falling in love, and getting married. Many young men and women in Germany were doing their duty to their fatherland and taking on the yoke of responsibility as warriors. We know that when the nightmare of Nazi extremism is eradicated from the world, German men and women, not tainted by Nazi propaganda, will return to the fold of democracy and once again become world citizens. With this spirit in mind, we will be reading letters sent home from German soldiers as well. When all the boys and girls come home from war, we must, as the church hymn of old says, remember them for what they have done. And now, use your imaginations and set your mind's eye to Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, Sword Beach, and towns like St. Lo and Bayeux as soldiers write home during one of the most momentous events in modern history.
Dear Mom, Pop, and family, now that I'm actually here, I see the chances of my returning to you all are quite slim. Therefore, I want to write this letter now that I'm yet able. I want you to know how much I love each of you. You mean everything to me, and it's the realization of your love that gives me the courage to continue. I've always determined to show my appreciation to you by enabling you both to have more of the pleasures of life. But this war has prevented my doing so for the past 3 years. If you receive this letter, I shall be enabled to fulfill my desires. For I have requested that this letter be forwarded only in the event that I do not return. You have had many times more your share of illnesses and deaths in the family. Still, you have continued to exemplify what true parents should. I'm sorry to add to your grief, but at all times I realize that my thoughts are of you constantly, and I feel that in some small way I'm helping you to bring this wasteful war to a conclusion. We of the United States have something to fight for. Never more fully have I realized that. There is no other country with comparable wealth, advancement, or standard of living. The USA is worth all the sacrifice. Remember always that I love each most fervently. I am proud of you. Consider Mary, my wife, as having taken my place in family circle. Watch over each other. Second Lieutenant Jack Lundberg, Lead Navigator, U.S. Air Force.
As you know, the battle in the West has now started, and I'm sure you can imagine that we are committing ourselves to it. How little time there is left for writing. This is about everything, about the existence or decline of our beloved fatherland. For every single one of us soldiers gets through this doesn't matter much. The main thing is, and will be, that we can soon win a just and long-lasting peace. Of course, we are also humans with wishes and requests of Providence that one would like to see fulfilled. Although we have learned to often forego everything during the war that relates to us as persons and to our futures, we catch ourselves again and again still having wishes that may, of course, together with life, be extinguished into an eternal nothingness by the explosion of the next shell. But uphold our faith and perseverance. We have begun the greatest passage of arms, and nobody knows what will be by the time our letters arrive. Leopold Dell, German Sergeant, June 15th.
Arlene, my dearest, today is our 20th day in action, yet it seems like years. What has happened to me and my battalion would be scoffed at, even in a 10-cent novel, as being impossible. Why the few of us left alive are alive is something to figure out in church. I've seen as many of my very best friends killed beside me, I just can't believe it is all really happening. I never in my wildest dreams knew such terror could grip your very soul. The business of landing deep in enemy territory and trying to hold a position assaulted and shelled from four sides until friendly troops break through is something I hope they never ask me to do again. The night we jumped, D-Day, 6 hours, was the payoff night. The Jerrys knew our plans down to the last detail and were waiting for us with everything they had. My chute was on fire from tracer bullets when I landed, right in front of a machine gun emplacement. I cut out of my harness and crawled for a couple of hours, with bullets whistling past my ears, coming from seemingly every direction. I can't tell you what else went on, but the story gets good from here. I hope it won't be too long before I can tell you, personally, all that has happened. Anyway, God alone brought me safely through this far. Of that, I'm sure. My darling, I love you more than life itself. I've realized that many times these last 3 weeks, when I thought I was going to be killed, and always the regret of missing, seeing, and marrying you was topmost in my mind at the time. I think I can say my love for you has been pretty well tested. Goodbye for a while. Captain George Montgomery of the 82nd Airborne, June 25th.
Promptly at H hour, I began listening on my wireless sets for the first news. It was a very dull morning, and the land was obscured by mist and smoke, so that except for the flotilla leader and the CO, no one actually saw the land till the metal doors opened in front and the ramp was down. But very soon after H hour, crystal clear over my sets, came messages from assaulting companies, heavy opposition pushing on, and heavy casualties pushing on from each of the 2 assaulting companies. But now we could hear the tack-a-tack-a-tack-a-tack of enemy machine guns and the strident explosions of enemy mortars on the beach and its approaches. Now was the moment. We clutched our weapons and wireless sets and carefully waterproofed. Suddenly there was a jarring bump on the left, and looking up from our boards, we saw some of these beach obstacles about 2 feet above our left gunwale with a large mine on top of it, just as photographs had shown us. The mine just the same as those we had practiced disarming. Again a bump on the right, but still we had not grounded. The colonel and the flotilla leader were piloting us in, and for a few brief minutes nothing happened except the music of the guns and the weighing of occasional bullets overhead, with the sporadic explosions of mortar bombs in the background of our own heavy gunfire. The doors opened as we grounded, and the colonel let us out. The sea was choppy, and the boat swung a good bit as one by one we followed him. Several fell in and got soaked through. I was lucky. I stopped for a few seconds to help my men with their heavy wireless sets and to ensure they kept them dry. As we staggered ashore, we dispersed and lay down above the water's edge. Stuff was falling pretty close to us, and although I did not see it happen, quite a number of the people from my own boat were hit. Instinctively, where we lay, we hacked holes with our shovels. I began to recognize wounded men of the assaulting companies. Some were dead, others struggling to crawl out of the water because the tide was rising very rapidly. We could not help them since our job was to push on, but I saw one of my signal corporals with a wound in his leg, and I took his codes with me, promising to send a man back for his set before he was evacuated. The next battle I saw only from the back, but its aftermath gave me my first real taste of fear. We had moved forward into one already taken enemy position to mount an attack on a stronger one beyond it. This was rash, since Jerry had his mortars laid on that last position. It was a small, thick wood by the side of a road, and he fairly laced into us. I cannot tell you how many were wounded and killed there, but I lost some of more signalers, and a whole crowd round me got hit. We could not get away, neither could we dig. The ground was hard and tangled with roots. The bombs were bursting literally everywhere all the time. I laid on my face for a few moments, then seeing the provost sergeant hit 5 yards away, I pushed over to him and shoved my field dressing on the back of his neck. He had a piece through his shoulder, but it was not serious, and we got him out of it. Curious how everyone turns yellow when hit. We all had to get out of it, and we did. The attack went in from the rear and was successful. Lots of Jerry prisoners being captured, but Dickie was killed and Urge wounded, as well as a good many others. After this, having reached our objectives, all but one, we began to collect ourselves. People got lost all over the place in battle, some deliberately, most quite by accident. We were pulled back a bit and made to dig in for the night, but we got very little sleep, and next day moved on and dug in again, and so on. The rest since then I cannot tell you yet, but D-Day was not the end, nor is the end yet. Thank God Clive, Tony, and Ronnie, and Bill are still alive and well. For the rest, it is a tale of new faces. And P.S., don't let this story depress you, because we are in great form now. Lieutenant H.T. Bone of the 2nd Battalion, East Yorkshire Regiment.
My own darling Janie. Golly, honey, how I've missed you today. All of a sudden, there comes this 2-day break with almost nothing to do but unlax and stretch out. A week ago today was D-Day, and these past 7 days have been filled with sights and sound I'll probably recall always. Most of it was pretty exciting, a lot of it pretty nasty, none of it enjoyable. For the greatest part, we haven't been close enough to catch the impact of the business being done. The glimpses we've had have been enough. Through it all, and leading up to our coming, there must have been, looking back now, a certain growing tension in all of us. There was nothing spectacular or dramatic about it that I can recall. You were hardly aware of it, but there must have been a great deal of self-searching. For myself, I found I was completely set for anything. There was a completeness and reason in my living up to that point that was answer in itself. I thought a lot about you, Janie dear, and I was as grateful to you and for you that it seemed to encompass my entire feeling. Above all else, I prayed that I lived to make you happy. That alone was yet to be done. I wanted to live, darling. Living has always been like a new toy for me, and I wanted to live for you and with you. The promise of our tomorrow stretched ahead and were delicious just to contemplate. For these things, I love you, darling. Every hope and prayer for the future is ours. Every agony and desperation of the now is for us. Twice as hard, twice as easy, 1,000,000 times as wonderful as anything that's ever been on this earth. Hold tight to our faith, Janie. Live for us. Honey, I love you something wonderful. All I want is the chance to show it. Good night, my angel wife. I love you, darling. Tracy A. Sugarman, U.S. Navy Lieutenant, June 13th.
If you have ever served in our nation's military, would you please rise for a tribute? Ladies and gentlemen, in our studio audience and throughout our listening area, please join me in giving these brave people the respect they deserve, the tribute they have earned, and through our acclamation, may we vow that their sacrifices will never be in vain.
Thus would we pass from the earth.
gentlemen, let us take another moment to remember that crucial day, June 6th, 1944. All of America was huddled around radios at home as they listened to President Roosevelt deliver a D-Day prayer. And whether you are a Christian, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, or non-believer, the president's words still resonate as the world was balanced on a razor's edge between a brighter day or many more years of darkness. Let's take you back to that broadcast as read by our WOWL cast.
My fellow Americans, last night when I spoke with you about the fall of Rome, I knew at that moment that troops of the United States and our allies were crossing the channel in another and greater operation. It has come to pass with success thus far.
And so, in this poignant hour, I ask you to join with me in prayer. Almighty God, our sons, pride of our nation, this day have set upon a mighty endeavor, a struggle to preserve our republic, our religion, and our civilization, and to set free a suffering humanity.
Lead them straight and true. Give strength to their arms, stoutness to their hearts, and steadfastness in their faith. They will need thy blessings. The road will be long and hard, for the enemy is strong. He may hurl back our forces. Success may not come with rushing speed, but we shall return again and again, and we know that by thy grace and by the righteousness of our cause, our sons will triumph.
They will be sore tired by night and by day, without rest, until the victory is won. The darkness will be rent by noise and flame. Men's souls will be shaken with the violences of war. For these men are lately drawn from the ways of peace. They fight not for the lust of conquest. They fight to end conquest. They fight to liberate. They fight to let justice arise and for tolerance and goodwill among all thy people. They yearn for the end of battle, for their return to the haven of home.
Some will never return. Embrace these, Father, and receive them, thy heroic servants, into thy kingdom. And for us at home, fathers, mothers, children, wives, sisters, and brothers of brave men overseas, whose thoughts and prayers are ever with them, help us, Almighty God, to rededicate ourselves in renewed faith in thee in this hour of great sacrifice.
Many people have urged that I call the nation into a single day of special prayer. But because the road is long and the desire is great, I ask that our people devote themselves in a continuance of prayer. As we rise to each new day and again what each day is spent, let words of prayer be on our lips, invoking thy help to our efforts. Give us strength too, strength in our daily tasks to redouble the contributions we make in the physical and material support of our armed forces.
And let our hearts be stout, to wait out the long travail, to bear sorrows that may come, to impart our courage unto our sons, wherever so they may be. And, O Lord, give us faith. Give us faith in thee, faith in our sons, faith in each other, faith in our united crusade. Let not the keenness of our spirit ever be dulled. Let not the impacts of temporary events, of temporal matters, of but fleeting moment, let not these deter us in our unconquerable purpose.
With thy blessing, we shall prevail over the unholy forces of our enemy. Help us to conquer the apostles of greed and racial arrogancies. Lead us to the saving of our country and with our sister nations into a world unity that will spell a sure peace, a peace invulnerable to the schemings of unworthy men, and a peace that will let all of men live in freedom, reaping the just rewards of their honest toil.
We interrupt our broadcast to bring you a special report from London. As you are all well aware, band leader Glenn Miller has been overseas entertaining our troops, and Captain Miller on this evening, December 15th, chartered a single-engine UC-64 Norseman airplane, which was meant to fly him from England over the English Channel to France, where his Army Air Force band was set to play for troops in France. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Miller's plane has been reported missing this evening, and there have been reports that his plane has gone down. We have lost one of America's two patriots and shining lights in the world of music. Major Miller walked away from civilian life,
where he was making up to $20,000 a week to join the war effort in 1942. Mr. Miller was too old to be drafted, and even though the Navy told him they did not need his services as a volunteer, he was undaunted. Mr. Miller then wrote to Army Brigadier General Charles Young and convinced him to place him in charge of a modernized Army band. Miller's patriotism and contribution to the war effort earned him the rank of captain, and he was recently promoted to major in August of this year. With his Army Air Force band, the Rhythm Airs, a 15-piece dance band, Mr. Miller not only entertained the troops overseas, he reminded them of home and what each man and woman was fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a painful reminder of the price of war and the sacrifice that men like Major Miller were willing to make to bring freedom back in the world in these dark times. In tribute of Major Glenn Miller and his contributions to the war effort and to music, our own WOWL House Band is honored to play Mr. Miller's Moonlight Serenade. As you listen to this familiar tune, please keep Mr. Miller in your heart and think about his family on this sad evening. We will never forget the willing sacrifice that all our men and women have made, both here and abroad, as they fight for democracy and the principles that have made our country the beacon of hope and the vanguard of freedom.
word from one of our fine sponsors, Luscious Lard, the lighter lard for all your baking needs. At Luscious Lard, we keep the fat in the can and not on your can.
Come on in. Hiya, Marge.
Hiya, Rosie. I was wondering if I could borrow a little sugar from you. I know it'll be a while before we get our next sugar ration, and I'll really owe you. But Harry's birthday is coming up tomorrow, and I want to surprise him by baking him his favorite pie. With rations, I've been saving up ingredients for weeks, and I know a pie will really be a sight for his sore eyes.
Sure thing, neighbor. I can spare some sugar. Lord knows I'll never make a pie again. The last time I made one, Charlie and the boys only ate it out of politeness. I don't know, Margie. Whenever I try to make a pie, the crust is flaky, brittle, and it sits in our stomachs like a submarine depth charge.
You must be using the wrong kind of lard.
What's the difference? Lard is lard.
Not when you're cooking with Luscious Lard. It's so much lighter than all other competitors. As they say, with Luscious Lard, the fat stays in the can and not on yours.
Is that why your pies are the talk of the neighborhood? Your crusts are so wonderful, light and crispy.
You said it, kiddo. With Luscious Lard, I'm a member of the upper crust when it comes to crusts.
Tell you what, you bring over the Luscious Lard and I'll be happy to share some of my sugar with you. I think I'll surprise the family as well with my own baking creation. It's time for me to bake my way back into the hearts of my family through their stomachs.
Now you're cooking with gas, kiddo. Be right back in a flash with the Luscious Lard.
That's right, ladies. Make every cooking experience one you and your family will remember by using Luscious Lard, the shortening in the bright blue can. It's the lightest lard, and the makers of Luscious Lard promise that you'll keep more fat in the can than on your can. Don't forget, ladies, to bring your fat cans down to the neighborhood butcher's shop for the war effort. Sorry for that. I meant to say, ladies, bring your cans of fat down to the neighborhood butcher's shop for the war effort. Every drop you bring to the butcher's, the War Production Board has told us is used for making explosive. Glycerin, made from waste fats and greases, is one of the most critical materials needed for the war effort. 3 pounds of fat could provide enough glycerin to make a pound of gunpowder. Nearly 350 pounds of fat is needed to fire one shell from a 12-inch naval gun. So, ladies, be hometown heroes by bringing your waste fat to the butchers, and let's all work together to bring this war to an end. Let's get cooking at home and in Europe with the help of Luscious Lard. And now, ladies and gentlemen, of our studio audience, all of you at home, and all of our brave soldiers fighting for freedom, we have a treat for you. As you know, 3 sisters have been taking the music stage by storm. Laverne, Maxine, and Patty, known to the freedom-loving world as the Andrews Sisters, are currently overseas entertaining the troops and giving our fighting forces well-earned breaks from the front. We here at WOWL Studios have our own Sisters of Song who would love to sing an Andrews Sisters hit, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B. They will be accompanied by Kenny C. and his Night Owls. So let's hear it for our 3 girls, Ellie, Erica, and Amber, better known to our radio listening public at WOWL Radio as the Owlettes. Give a hoot for the Owlettes!
Chicago way. We had
hear more from them later. And now we turn our attention to our studio audience, while our listeners at home hear a public service message from the Rationing Board about the new regulations about the national speed limit. Remember, folks, keep those automobiles going no faster than 35 miles per hour. We'll save gas and save precious rubber. Before we bring you the next exciting episode of Sam Trowell, Private Guy, we have a word from another of our fine sponsors, Up the Flu Cold Formula. Send your fluid up, send your cold up the flu with Up the Flu.
Hey, Sue, what's the problem? You seem to be half asleep at your factory post. Remember, we have to get a whole shipment of P40 engine blocks done for the War Department by the end of shift today.
I know, but I have a pesky cold that kept me up all night. I can't stop. Can't, Excuse me, but my cold seems to be getting worse.
The war won't stop just because you have a cold. We've got to get these engine blocks ready, and we can't afford any follow-ups if they're going to be helping our boys stay flying.
I know. I didn't ask to get this cold.
Well, have you tried Up the Flu cold formula? Just 1 teaspoon during the day will send your cold up the flu. Just 1 tablespoon a night is just the ticket to get you a good night's sleep because it has a special secret formula that will send you to a restful sleep. I happen to have a bottle on me.
I'll try anything to get rid of this cold. Wow, this stuff packs a punch. I feel better already.
Make sure you don't take too much. It's really strong, and anything over 1 teaspoon during the day will knock you off your feet.
You bet. I'm ready to take on the world.
Just focus on those engine blocks coming down the conveyor belt. We've got to do our part for the war effort. Rosie the Riveter is depending on us to get our boys in the air in safe planes.
You said it, sister. With Up the Flu cold formula, I know I can do my fair share. And no darn cold is ever gonna slow me down again.
That's right, Joe and Sue. Whenever you feel a cold coming on, send it right up the flu with Up the Flu cold formula. Up the Flu is sold at your local pharmacy. Before you get your next cold, get Up the Flu.
Man, I tell you, I feel like I'm getting something that even the cat wouldn't drag in. I think I've got a whopper of a cold coming on. My body is aching, and my sinuses are backed up. Times Square foot traffic after the show gets out. I'm fading fast, and we got our biggest sound effects challenge coming up with Sam Trowell. I'm not sure if I can stay on my toes.
Sorry, buddy. I must have given it to you, because I feel twice as worse as you look. But you know, we got bottles and bottles of Up the Flu cold formula lying around. We get samples of them all the time from the company. We've got bottles right here that we use for sound effects. Let's say we take one and just see what happens.
I'll try anything. I can't get any worse than how I feel right now. How much are we supposed to take?
I don't know. I never listened to the commercials, since all we have to do are those 2 simple sound effects. The bottles don't have labels on them. They're pretty small, so I'm sure they're for one-time use only.
Well, we got a tough show coming up, so we need to be at our best, so let's just take it and see what happens.
Say, this stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, and it really packs a punch. If this weren't medicine, I swear it'd have a bunch of alcohol in it. Though, I wouldn't know. I don't touch it myself.
Me neither. I'm a teetotaler.
Well, whatever's in it, it tastes so good. There are 3 more bottles here, so why don't we all just take another one and make the boss proud?
That sounds like a great idea. Boy, if I knew Up the Flu tasted this good, I'd get sick more often.
Yes, indeedy do. I sure love Up the Flu. How about you?
Up the Flu sure clears my nose, and it warms me right up and down to my toes.
Up the Flute Cold Formula are proud to present our hit radio drama, Sam Trow, Private Guy. In a dark corner of a dark street, in a dark city, in a dark county of a dark state, Sam Trow, Private Guy, takes on the cases that no other private investigator dares to take. He picks up when the police put down. There is no mystery too mysterious for Sam Trow. No crime too criminal for Sam Trow. No villain too villainous for Sam Trow. And when everyone else gives up, Sam Trow is there, ready to dig just a little deeper to bring the unjust to justice. Sam Trow, Private Guy, episode 101, A Shot in the Dark. In our last episode, Sam Trow uncovered a Nazi plot to kidnap President Roosevelt's dog, Fala, in Run, Fala, Run, the case of the doggone dog. Tonight, we see Sam sitting in his dark office, waiting for his next case.
I was sitting in my dark office waiting for my next case. I had only one cigarette left, and my money was running short. Suddenly, there was a knock on my door. I forgot I had my doorbell installed yesterday, and I wasn't used to hearing it instead of a knock. Come in. Whoever it was obviously didn't like the sound of my doorbell, and they began to seek entrance the old-fashioned way. Come in. I saw the doorknob slowly turn, and the hinges on the door started their familiar creak. I couldn't hear the creak over the sudden thunderstorm that had suddenly started without warning. It seems as though that the storm passed as suddenly as it began. The door was now open, and standing there in the frame of the door were curves that, if they were on a country road, that they would be dangerous to cause many a crash. Since they were on a woman, they were even more dangerous. She slowly walked up to my desk. Though she was a petite young thing, she walked with determination. It was amazing how big my office was. I guess I should move my desk back closer to the office door, but the added space between me and my visitors gives me so much more time to figure out the situation. When she finally got to my desk, I knew she spelled trouble.
Hello there. Sorry. When I'm nervous, I have a habit of spelling trouble out loud in multiple people's voices. It calms my nerves. You have to help me, Mr. Trow. My sister, Sue LaRue, has gone missing, and I received a ransom note saying that if I didn't deposit $1 million in a Swiss bank account by tomorrow morning, they'd be sending my sister back one piece at a time. I'm sorry I brought my xylophone with me, Mr. Trowell, but playing xylophone in times of stress calms my nerves. I need your help, Mr. Trowell. Get my sister back unharmed. Money is no object.
That's all right, sweetheart. I knew who she was and who I was dealing with. This dangerous package was Luella LaRue, better known to the posh Hollywood set as Lou LaRue, the silver screen bombshell and eldest daughter of the oil, steel, cattle, diamond, real estate, railroad, entertainment baron Hugh LaRue, the richest man from Cleveland to Toledo. I was looking at a gold mine, but I decided to play it cool, so I slowly lit my last cigarette. That's the last time I buy a pack of cigarettes from a guy dressed up in a clown suit. I gave the gal one lingering look as I calmly extinguished the flames on the brim of my fedora. "Sure, doll," I said, "I'll take the case, but I won't be cheap. And who knows? If you play your cards right, we may even be able to make beautiful music together, if you know what I mean."
Sure, I know what you mean when you say make beautiful music together. Wow, Mr. Trowell, I've never spontaneously played a kazoo duet of Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries with such passion, skill, and emotional depth before. You get my sister back safe and sound, and I think there may be a me in your future.
Her kazoo skills were pretty good, darn good in fact. Though she really should take a few more lessons in counterpoint with a kazoo virtuoso. But I'd forgive an occasional half-note faux pas from someone so lovely and stinkin' rich. This could be my lucky day, but I knew I had my work cut out for me. A kidnapping of someone so high profile could only be done by the notorious Sturm und Drang gang. The toughest bunch of lowlifes ever to skulk through the gutters of our once fair city. I've been trying to break this gang ever since I put on a pair of gumshoes, but I couldn't even locate their headquarters. We've been playing cat and mouse for years, but I knew I had to get Miss LaRue back to her sister and her sister close to my side. I decided to hit the streets and knock on some doors of shady establishments to see if I could get some clues as to the gang's hideout. Perhaps I'd get lucky, but I'm not known for my luck.
It is now midnight, as we can tell by the tolling of the clock in the venerable St. Pat McPatrick's Church. It seems that the venerable Father Michael St. Michael's is tolling the bell tonight. Father McMichaels is a beloved yet ancient priest who has begun to go a little light in the belfry. We see Sam Trowell approaching a dark door in a dark alley, ready to look for clues in the places where even angels fear to tread.
I'd figured I'd start at a place where I hadn't been for a while. It was a place where low-life scum, the bottom feeders, and the great pond of life congregate. Instead of knocking, I thought I'd better just open the door and get the jump on them. To heck with it, I thought knocking in a violent and menacing manner may be more effective.
Wait, you're knocking! You know I ain't gonna open this door unless you give the password.
A password. It was going to take me all my detective skills, my well above average intellect, and some luck to figure out what the password is, but I knew I was up to the game.
The password is "The eagle flies on Friday."
I trusted my intuition and the little voice inside my head that was screaming out to me. So I said, "The eagle flies on Friday." My intuition was right, and the door opened.
Welcome, fellow scoundrel, to the Sturm und Drang gang hideout. If you are seeking employment with our gang, you might pick up an application on the desk. But if you is a lousy, stinking copper detective, you better start saying your prayers, because you're about to meet your maker. And I can tell you're not here for employment. Welcome to the Sturm und Drang gang headquarters, Mr. Trowell, and say hello to my little friend.
Hey! How you doing?
I thought he was going to pull a gun on me, but instead, out from behind him stepped a little man known to the underworld and us detectives as Tyrone Bannister, one of the most notorious members of the Lollipop Guild. And don't let the name fool you. The guild were not to be reckoned with on a good day, especially not in this underground den of iniquity and headquarters to the Sturm und Dranggang.
Well, Trowel, you finally found our secret hideout. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Johann Amadeus Ludwig von Strauss der Zweite, notorious leader of the Sturm und Dranggang. You must be here to try to rescue Miss LaRue. You know that's not going to happen, Trowel. All that's going to happen now is in about 3 seconds, you'll be wishing you were somewhere else as you stare down the barrel of Luger.
Von Strauss took out a rather nasty-looking Luger, while Tyrone pulled out a gun that was half the size of his little body. They got the jump on me, and I figured this was it. Well, at least on the bright side, my landlady wasn't gonna get my 3 months overdue rent money now. But that was a pretty thin silver lining on a very dark cloud.
I've been waiting for this moment a long time, Trowel. Say goodbye. I brought my pet duck out because I wanted to see you die with your belly full of lead. My duck hates you almost as much as me. Now I'm really gonna let you have it. Take that!
He didn't shoot me because he was distracted by the sound of Miss LaRue's scream. She was tied up in the corner, but her gag had slipped. I tried to console her. It's okay, Miss LaRue. This mug isn't going to shoot me now or ever.
That's what you think, Trowel. No more kidding around. I'm going to empty the whole clip into this time. There should be the sound.
Suddenly, and without warning, the university pep band came marching into the hideout. They must have been taking part in the annual homecoming day parade, which for some strange reason happens in the middle of the night, taking a wrong turn because of the darkness and walked into this hideout by accident. Yeah, that's a good one. Yes. It was the distraction I was looking for. So I swung my right fist into Zweig's nose. Unfortunately, I missed. This fight was a fast one. But I began to pummel him in the midsection with a barrage of haymakers and uppercuts to the jaw. Instead, I realized that this nefarious mobster was ticklish, and I really lit into him. He dropped the gun to the floor. The gun went off as it hit the floor. Thank heaven he never shot me with that gun. For a small pistol, it really packed a punch.
Enough, Trowel. I give up. I can't stand being tickled. It looks like you win again.
I tied up Zweit and went over to Miss LaRue and untied her. She was just as beautiful as her sister. She looked at me and she said,
"Thanks, Mr. Trowel. You have saved the day."
For a petite girl, she had the voice of a dock worker. I returned Miss LaRue to her family and went back to my office. I waited there for Luella to stop by, and I waited there for 3 days. On the 4th day, I received a package with a check for enough money to get me by for at least a year. There was also a newspaper in the package. The headline read, "Luella LaRue, engaged to Bruce Rain, the most eligible bachelor in the tri-state region." It also didn't hurt that he was stinking rich and handsome to boot. Oh well, these rich types tend to stick together. It looks like I'm left alone again. Just me, a pack of cigarettes, a quarter bottle of rock gut, and... and the university pep band, who followed me back to my office and has been with me ever since. I guess you can't be too lonely when you have 100 marching band members crammed into your office.
That was episode 101 of Sam Trowell, Private Guy. Tune in next week when we bring you episode 102 of Sam Trowell, Private Guy, with a caper called The Celery Stalks at Midnight. And remember, folks, The fine makers of Up the Flue cold formula remind you that anything more than 1 teaspoon should be taken right before bed, because Up the Flue will make you a bit drowsy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to turn back the clock to just a few years ago, to 1938, and celebrate a local place just a few miles west of us in Peterborough, New Hampshire. The place is called the MacDowell Colony, the oldest established artist colony that allows artists the setting and the time to work on their next masterpieces. In the past, the MacDowell Colony has hosted DuBose Hayward, who worked on a novel which was later turned into Porgy and Bess. It was there that Hayward met another artist, playwright Dorothy Coons. They later married. As we speak, composer Aaron Copland is at the colony working on a symphonic piece, which he has tentatively titled Appalachian Spring. We're sure it will be a big success. But tonight, we'd like to bring your attention to one of the MacDowell Colony's favorite sons, Thornton Wilder, who, in 1938, on the eve of another great war, penned one of the most poignant plays of our age, Our Town. While the play ends on the brink of the Great War, and while 1938 audiences had their attention focused on Europe at the start of Act II of the struggle of democracy against fascism, Mr. Wilder gave voice through his stage manager, words of encouragement and reminders of the things that truly matter in this age as well as any other. We proudly present the stage manager's beautiful speech of the opening of Act III, where he stands in the Grover's Corner Cemetery to remind us all of the things that matter, and they will prevail, and that is indeed always darkest just before the dawn. After the speech, we would also like to present for you a selection from Aaron Copland's Our Town Suite that he wrote for the 1940 movie. We here at WOWL Radio share with you our concern and our prayers for all of our armed service personnel overseas, and we share with you, we are sure, our hope and faith in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, a celebration of what matters, both here in New Hampshire and across our globe.
Gradual changes in Grover's Corners. Horses are getting rarer. Farmers coming into town in Fords.
Everybody locks their house doors now at night. Ain't been any burglars in town yet, but everybody's heard about them. Be surprised, though on the whole, things don't change much around here.
This is certainly an important part of Grover's Corners. It's on a hilltop, a windy hilltop. Lots of sky, lots of clouds, often lots of sun and moon and stars. You come up here on a fine afternoon, and you can see range on range of hills. Awfully blue they are up there by Lake Sunapee and Lake Winnipesaukee. And way up, if you got a glass, you can see the White Mountains and Mount Washington, where North Conway and Conway is.
And of course, our favorite mountain, Mount Monadnocks, right here, and all these towns that lie around it. Jaffrey and East Jaffrey, and Peterborough and Dublin. There, quite a ways down, and Grover's Corner. Yes, beautiful spot up here. Mountain laurel and lilacs. I often wonder why people like to be buried in Woodlawn in Brooklyn, when they might pass the time up here in New Hampshire.
Over there are the old stones, 1670, 1680, strong-minded people that come a long way to be independent. Summer people walk around there laughing at the funny words on the tombstones. It don't do any harm. And genealogists come up from Boston and get paid by city people looking up their ancestors. They want to make sure they're daughters of the American Revolution and of the Mayflower. Well, I guess that don't do any harm either. Whenever you come near the human race, there are layers and layers of nonsense.
Over there, some Civil War veterans, iron flags on their graves, New Hampshire boys, had a notion that the Union ought to be kept together, though they'd never seen more than 50 miles of it themselves. All they knew was the name, friends, the United States of America, the United States of America, and they went and died about it.
This here is the new part of the cemetery. Yes, an awful lot of sorrow has sort of quieted down up here. People just wild with grief have brought their relatives up to this hill. We all know how it is, and then time. And sunny days, and rainy days, and snow. We're all glad they're in a beautiful place, and we're coming up here ourselves when our fit's over.
Now, there are some things we all know, but we don't take them out and look at them very often. We all know that something is eternal. And it ain't houses, and it ain't names, and it ain't even earth. It ain't even the stars. Everybody knows in their bones that something is eternal, and that something has to do with human beings. All the greatest people that ever lived have been telling us for 5,000 years, and yet you'd be surprised how people are always losing hold of it. There's something way down deep that's eternal about every human being.
You know as well as I do that the dead don't stay interested in us living people for very long. Gradually, they lose hold of the earth.
And the ambitions they had.
And the pleasures they had.
And the things they suffered.
And the people they loved.
They got weaned away from earth. That's the way I put it. Weaned away. And they stay here while the earth part of them burns away and burns out.
And all that time, they slowly get indifferent to what's going on in Grover's Corners. They're waiting.
They're waiting for something that they feel is coming.
Something important and something great.
Aren't they waiting for the eternal part in them to come out clear?
and goodies on display. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas.